I'm Alex Roberts.
I'm Jared Miller.
And it's time to dangle, snipe, and stampede.
It's goal!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. And this is a bittersweet episode.
Nothing sweet about it, Alex.
I'm Alex Roberts. I'm joined by Jared Miller and Aidan Glockner, as always. And this was a very interesting weekend. It was rivalry week, but of course, the Buffs went 2-2 throughout the week across the men's and the women's team. But of course, one loss outweighs the rest of the week's outcomes. But before we get into the inevitable, let's talk about Thursday a little bit more. If you guys are watching the last episode, we recorded a quick, not necessarily quick, more like a 20-minute recap and gut reaction of the Thursday 7-2 win in Fort Collins.
I went back and watched that. It was fun.
I know. Fun segment.
Honestly, it worked out. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. Would you say so, Jared?
In my car?
Yeah.
I liked your occasional comments where
Yeah.
you just like hand the mic over.
Yeah, no, probably not the smartest idea, but we made it home, so
It's true.
worked out.
Worked out well, and hopefully you guys got to, hear our gut reactions on the way down, and that was a really fun night. And let me tell you, I was so excited for Friday. I woke up feeling great.
I realized I called it in the car.
What?
I was like, I don't know if they will close out the second game. I was just listening back to it, and I was like, oh, man.
You jinxed it. It's your fault.
Yeah,
it's your fault,
It's
Aiden.
my fault, actually.
Yeah.
I should have stepped onto the ice
Yeah.
and played defense.
Dang.
No thanks. No thanks.
No.
No.
No, you don't want me there.
No, I'm okay.
But, yeah, I felt great waking up on Friday, getting ready to go do our live show.
It was exciting. There was so much build
I
up.
felt great. We got home at like 3. I got home at like 3 a.m.
I mean,
I did not feel great the next day.
That's fair.
Well, then
That's
again, I
fair.
didn't wake up super early. I kind of woke up, and I was feeling great leaving to go to the live show and get ready for everything. And, got to the rink, and, setting up was great. And then
I was pacing at the rink. We got there. I don't even know how we got there at like 5. No,
I got there at 5ish.
Got there at like 6, and I was just pacing. I was ready to go. I was ready to do it, and then 4-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
Trunco twice.
It was a great first period.
Marcinkiewicz and Bunting. Trunco got that scramble goal.
Oh,
that
they
we
gave
all
the
felt-
Trunco. And
Yeah,
okay.
we thought it was Borgi, but I watched some replays, and it looked like Trunco batted it in.
Dang. But
So,
anyways,
Yeah, Trunco got 2.
yeah.
Marcinkiewicz got 1, and then Bunting with his first goal of the year, first point of the year.
And a fantastic start. It was just like, they were
Well, and after Bunting scored, I think the
everywhere.
entire
It was the timeout.
Yeah, it was the timeout. But even after the timeout, it was only 3-0. The Buffs took a 4-0 lead after that.
Yes.
But it started with one shot from Decker that beat Server, and then it was Calagrasu who finished a really, really beautiful play. To be honest, that was just tough. Good stick handling, good concentration with the puck, and then they just put it to the 5-hole.
Yep.
It's like you're still feeling good going up 2, but you're kind of not feeling great because you kind of let them back in the game.
Yeah, it was a good. You're right. It was a good first period, but there was that just slight twinge of probably should have limited those chances.
They outplayed them for 18 minutes of the game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of the first period, I meant.
Yeah.
And it was just 2 where CSU got 2 quick ones, and then you just didn't feel as comfortable the rest of the night.
No, and
after that, everything shifted.
They could sense that they came into the second with a little bit more drive, and obviously they tie it
Late.
Yeah, and then the worst part there is we pull ahead with, what was it? It was like
20 seconds left.
22
With
seconds.
Marcinkiewicz.
Second of the game.
It was just another nice feed by Issa, kicked right off his skate, and he just put it past Simon. And
You're front of the net. Those are hard to defend.
Well, and
the thing scoring in big games.
I agree. The big telling to me, though, was the mentality shifting in Game 1 after Simon was ejected. And then the mentality when Simon was still there and the way that the Rams rallied around their goaltender, because the Buffs, outside of that 4-goal sprint, really struggled to beat Simon all weekend long. Now, granted, they put 8 goals in by him, but still, it did not feel like it was a bad weekend for Sam Simon. It really didn't feel that bad because he played with a lot of composure, and he made big saves when he had to, especially in that third period when they're trailing and when the game's tied, and then the final sprint at the end.
And I think our team has this energy when they're really clicking. They have this energy on the ice of we can kind of just put it past you on a deflection or a shot or any which way. We're gonna there's always a chance we're gonna be able to beat you. And there was that vibe actually in that second game with Simon still staying in there. It just didn't.
Especially in that third.
It wasn't
period.
there. It really wasn't there. Especially in that third period, they looked like they were playing, but they weren't smoothly just kind of.
It didn't feel like they had
forcing.
The upper hand.
No, they were just kind of playing, and especially that second period, it felt like they were surviving, rather than not even dominating, just playing, at equal strength.
And we were all incredibly nervous at the end of that second period in Fort Collins, and then when we realized Sam Simon got ejected, it felt like a sigh of relief. We're like, oh wow, we don't have to play their starting goaltender.
This opens up a lot more. Yeah.
Well, and then they have the 5-minute major, and then they score twice.
And Server told me he didn't think they started their backup even on Thursday night. He told me he thought he was pretty sure they started their third string.
Bartholomew?
Bartholomew, excuse me.
Was it third?
That's what he said he thought. I could be wrong on that, but he mentioned to me that he thought that was an odd choice to go with.
Interesting. Well, who knows? Maybe the backup was hurt because there was a third goaltender dressed.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe something happened there, but
because regardless, on the bench because obviously Simon wasn't there.
Regardless, they had all the momentum. Like they just dominated and finished off strong, winning by 5. And then it's like they had a streak in this weekend where they outscored the Rams 9-0. Since it was after Decker tied it 2-2 late in the second, you start with Rosalenko's second goal, and then you go all the way to Bunting's goal in the second game. That's 9 straight goals for CU.
And you don't get both out of the weekend.
You scored 12 in the weekend. You scored 7 and you scored 5. And offense was playing well.
I think really what the problem was on Friday is how it was tied. It wasn't just like it was tied through just continuous hard work by CSU. It just kind of was like, here's 2 quick ones, 4-2, and here's 2 kind of ones, and it's 4-4, and then and then suddenly they're like, oh shoot, we've blown this again. Now it's tied again, and it's not even like they've been, truly really really working. We're just kind of not playing great, and it's all going down this path again.
1:30 left in the third. That's when they took the lead too.
I know. That's the worst part. Is they held it for so long. I didn't want to say anything during broadcasting, but you mentioned something. You were like 5 minutes till overtime.
Yeah,
I
heard that.
I was gonna say if we get there.
Well, I mean, of course, if we get there. But in that moment, I'm just like sitting there, like, of course, the game is tied right now. I gotta say right now, because the game is tied. 5 minutes until overtime.
I never like how they do that in soccer, actually, where they do call it live like that. I always want to leave open the option of there's still 5 minutes left.
I get it, but
No, I totally understand. But I was like, ooh, I don't know and then
but that's also I totally understand that because. You get that feeling and that voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, no.
It was kind of the worst goal, too, because Server didn't really have a chance to stop it.
Well, because
it was a bouncing puck.
Yeah, it bounced off of in what we were celebrating that Rosalenko goal so well, right off a rebound right to Rosalenko. It was the exact same goal.
Well, it wasn't like he didn't shoot it on Server. It was shot, it deflected off a skate, I think, and then just floated, just like trailed right in the slot, and then Decker picked it up one move.
Yeah, and
the last play you want to have
one
it in
stride.
Yeah, Server caught out of position, and he can't set back up. And
there were a couple moments like that where it just felt like.
And then the complete nail when I think it was
Ferguson.
Was it Ferguson tripping?
Yeah, and then Pietrangelo buried the empty netter in that.
I mean, at that point, there's nothing.
And here's
you
the
can do.
thing: if you lose that game, they lost that game to CSU last year. It stinks.
That stunk last.
They were out. They were out last year.
Exactly.
Then the rankings, and it hurt Friday. I was devastated.
We all were.
Then I looked this morning at the rankings, and they're the first team to have nationals.
22.
They're 22nd, so 3 auto bids. That just stinks in itself. Those auto bids when you have 3 teams behind you that are making it instead of you.
Well,
but then you're the first team out. And this weekend we were following it. Utah did their job and swept Iowa State. Iowa State fell.
Missouri State got at least shut out in one game.
Both
Central
games.
Oklahoma,
they lost 4-0 and 6-0, and they dropped 2 spots.
Central Oklahoma
They're the last team in.
took care of Oklahoma. Oklahoma
Big
dropped,
time.
jumped them. That was the 2 you needed to jump that you knew were going to happen. I felt that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. And I was like, they're going to be the first team out. And I was like, there's one more option. But then I wasn't too sad because, I was still sad, but I was like, all right, Pitt won both games and Delaware won both games. It was like, well, all right, I don't think
Pitt
they
stayed
get
at 20.
in.
So,
and then you see Missouri State drop to 21, and you're like, if you win that game, do you jump Missouri State?
So,
I think the last spot.
I was going to say, even if you lose in overtime, do you jump them?
I don't
know.
I think you had to win.
I think you had to win.
And especially
if they won in overtime, yes.
Especially when they had such a big lead, that plays a factor where I was like, if they can hold on to this lead and keep it a pretty marginal game and not let them get back into it.
Well, I think they could have jumped.
I think that's why everyone
and they could have had a chance in overtime too.
Well,
absolutely.
I think if everyone who knew what the stakes were and everyone who knew when we went up 4-0 that was huge. It wasn't just about winning at that point. It was like, dang, we're up 4. If we're able to dominate again and win by 3+
not
for
even
a second
dominate
straight
at
game,
that point, you just have to just shut the game down.
That yes,
I know it's the first period.
In retrospect, that's the thing. But going into that, you score 4, and you start thinking we're up 4. This score holds. We're probably in the conversation. We win by 5 and we win by 4.
Yeah.
And even if you let them get one, it's you win by 5 and you win by 3. That's huge.
If you check to this morning, Wednesday morning, and you don't make it, it's all right, well, we did what we could.
Yeah, you did. I mean, that's all they could do.
But it just hurts because it's they had it. And I don't know if they passed Missouri State. Missouri State already dropped 2 spots. Who knows if they would be able to drop 3.
Yeah.
But you're
I think it probably depends on how close the points were between the 2 of them.
But it's it's not that they just missed it. It's that they had it, and
they kind of really did have it in the palm of their hand right there.
And that's what hurts the most.
4-0 is huge.
Actually,
and that was I thought for a brief second at that time, I was like, okay, obviously we still have the rest of the game left, so no. But are we just gonna kind of sit here, kind of cruise out the rest of this game?
Okay.
Nope.
So I just pull up the rankings.
Yep. Oh.
So the average rankings actually pretty big split between us and Missouri State. There's actually a pretty noticeable difference. Missouri State Missouri State was sitting at is set at 21. We're at 22. The average ranking in the 2 ranking models, they placed 18 and 23 for an average ranking of 20.5. We had a 22 and 27 for 24.5. We were only half a point above Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma. So frankly,
you still might have missed, but it hurt.
It was still a pretty big gap that they had to close. But
still stinks, especially when you finish 22nd.
I mean that means you could honestly probably take any other one game, like the second SDSU game. You could probably take any other game in the season.
To me, I think back to
or the UCO, take one of those.
I'm thinking more about the second one, where they had the big lead and
they tied it with 30 seconds left.
Yep. And there are a couple games like that where I feel like
hooked.
Oh. I don't know. I think it's to me, I think what really hurt this team in the long run this year was the fact that they could not win both in the weekend most often. They had 2 of those occasions, and one of them was in the biggest moment of the year last weekend against Arizona State.
That's what also really sucks is they completely showed out for Arizona State and the first CSU game, and had all the momentum,
They had
everything
won
rolling their way,
4 of 5
and
going
you're like,
into Friday.
You need one more game, one more 60 minutes. That's all you need.
So
And they had probably like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, and I think it's also just you don't lose that game against Oregon after them not practicing early in the season. That one hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you get a chance to exact revenge on them, which not only is for that type of game, but for Matt Server, it's his old team coming back to Boulder, in which he beat the Buffs at the Rec Center last season for the Ducks. So
not getting that Missouri State shutout would have been nice.
Yeah, not being shut out in that first game, not losing that first game against Colorado State
I was about to
November,
say
or in December.
The December, what is that?
In the last minute when you turn it up.
Mm-hmm.
Trend here with a lot of last minute
True,
goals.
yeah, just
Well,
consistently.
And then you have the second game against Missouri State in January, where you win, you come back and you win that game, which was something that they hadn't done a lot. They were when they had won, they had looked really good when they won. They hadn't been able to pull one out. They hadn't needed to come back. That was a big win against Missouri State.
They had a lot of moments, especially in the second half of this season, where it was like any one of these could have propelled them on a run, and it just never quite fell into
and then
place.
after they come back against Missouri State, what did they go down 5 or 6-0?
Yeah,
and they tried.
They went down 6-0.
They absolutely came back.
For that game.
Yeah, it was 7-4.
They lost 7-4, so they came back and scored 4 goals, but
it was too late at that
6-0.
point.
But yeah, you can't. That's a lot, and then obviously getting the Oklahoma response on the second game.
Well, and I think it's also.
And then you shut out SDSU. Sorry, I'm looking at your thing. 6-0, and then just whatever the second game. I don't know.
It was a nagging problem this year. Last year, it felt like they couldn't split a series. Like if you won the first game, you were winning the second game. It just didn't feel like there was ever going to be a split.
No.
This year was the exact
on the
opposite.
alternative, if they lost it, it was like, damn.
Yeah.
Man,
So this year was really different. In the first semester, the name of the game was coming out cold in the first game and then winning the second game and responding.
Mm-hmm.
In the second semester, it was starting out strong but failing to finish.
And it sucks that they had both of those down, just not at the same time.
No.
It's obviously you have to put the two together, but you have to put the two together,
It was, it's just tough with the way things kind of finished.
So close.
Just so
false
close.
Hope. It's this false hope.
Well, and,
I know.
and you
It's
think
like,
about
it wasn't
we're
even
so
false hope
close.
is the thing, though, because it was
It was
right
right
there.
there.
Right there.
And then it's like, dang.
Well, you
It
think
just
about
ended.
it.
Inches from
They
there.
were
just
only
ended.
even in this position because they lost to
Overtime.
UCO in overtime
Oh, yeah.
twice. They got bumped up 11 spots for losing in overtime
Mm-hmm.
twice. So, you think about,
And we were all excited after that.
we were surprised. I thought they were actually going to be punished for losing both in overtime. It's just dude, we have to play UCO on the road, number 3, and they beat us in
But
overtime.
it's a good team.
But, when I saw that they got bumped up that much, I was pleasantly surprised. And that's when the hope really started to set in for the final month of the season.
Yep. And then they had pretty
it's
decent
they only lost
performances
3
each
games.
weekend.
They only lost 4 games for the last 5 series.
Yeah.
But, it's they won the first game in every series this semester except against UCO, and they only won the second game once. And so
4 games left.
Yep. So, just tough.
4 games left. It'll be a fun,
It'll be fun for
send-off
senior weekend.
senior this weekend. I'm excited. I really hope they just beat Oregon both times. I don't want to see another loss. And Oregon's what, 50, 60th something?
I mean, they got killed by SDSU twice.
Come on.
They got beat 12-0 and 6-0. by
they just
UNLV.
got killed
Oregon's
by
at
Vegas.
61. Oregon's at 61 of 72.
Yeah, okay. Finish the year on a high note. Come on.
And then you got to play UNLV, who's basically just prepping for nationals.
If at nothing, on Saturday, the final game. Yeah, and then just go have fun against UNLV. See what you can do.
For those seniors, of course, those are their true last games, possibly in a competitive environment ever. So
I know.
I got the list right here.
Yeah.
Because I think we should talk about we could wait, but maybe mention what we think All right, I'll just read the list and then we'll go from there.
All right.
Max Pashenik. I got this list from the team, by the way.
Okay.
Max Pashenik, Mark Borghi, Adam Trunko, Luke Gosnell, Fred Farrow, Paxton Bunting, Keaton Foy, Matt Server, and Caleb Gold. That's a lot of seniors.
It's a good.
And a number of important players on the team too.
The last week when I talked to Borghi, he was talking about Server was still up in the air, so I don't know if he's confirmed now leaving or if it's still up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a big list.
I would love if he stayed at least for just a year, give a little bit more stability in net. But I also think
But then
that
next year, I think you lose both Server and Owen.
most likely would.
I think there's still a lot of hope. I don't think it's over. Like, I think they're still going to be able to compete just as well next season. And obviously, you got to find some new scorers to replace Pashenik mostly. I mean, he's the leading scorer. But I also think that you have a lot of pieces that are staying that have picked up their game and played huge factors in this season. And I'm not going to be here. But
I'm not going to be here.
You're not going to be here.
I know.
You'll come back, though.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I'll be back the year later.
You're
but
studying
like,
abroad.
hey, that's gonna be a very different team
But-
in 2 years.
but
And,
I'm
and,
excited
you know,
to see what happens because, I mean, just talking to that sit-down interview I had with Marcin Kevinchus a week and a half ago, he says they're gonna they're not just gonna go away.
No.
They're not going away.
I believe in him.
Oh, trust me, I was saying that and I believed in him. I was like, yeah, they're not going away.
Speaking of leaving, I think someone has to leave.
I do. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't want to cut
yeah,
you off.
I gotta go. Yeah, you can cut this out or whatever if you want. I gotta go to midterm. So.
oh yeah. I
I
don't
gotta
care about
leave.
classes anymore. I'm
Yeah,
a
you can
senior.
I can either go in this fashion or I can just poof. You know.
Yeah.
Life it seems will fade away, drifting farther every day.
If you want to join ScoBuff Sports and cover the hockey teams here, meetings are Wednesdays at 6:45 in case West 262.
Yep.
That's what we'll be tonight
Yep.
and every week until I graduate.
Until I graduate.
And you also graduate.
And then they'll figure something out.
And then it's not my problem.
It's not
anymore.
my- it's not our
Yeah.
problem. But yeah, I wanted to touch on just the future for this team because I think
I'm
that
excited.
again, even though that this was a very tough end of the year, I think it's a huge stepping stone for the future. I think while it stinks that they don't make it this year, especially like for us because we're graduating and for the seniors that are
I was ready to
graduating.
buy a ticket.
Oh, I know you were so ready to jump on it. But I think you looking forward for the long term, if they can try and establish a good foundation
And
for
I
years
think
to come,
they have one.
I think they do too.
Think about the freshmen they had alone. They had Marcin Kevinchus, Pearson, and
Wood.
Wood in the first
Yep.
semester. If you get those three back, I mean, you keep McConaughey, who could show he could score.
Yeah.
Obviously, losing Borghi, Pashenik, and Trunko hurts the offense a little bit, but Rosalenko showed up late.
Yeah.
DiDomizio didn't really produce points-wise as much, but he was a solid player.
He really fit in on that Borgi Trunko line with the
then-
two captains there. I
and
think they really took him onto their wing.
Issa should be back, who picked it up, especially with assist that second
Oh
half
my gosh,
of the semester.
he was just he had so many apples.
You keep four of your defensemen who really hunkered down in the second half of the second semester and was that solid lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Crawford's play.
Yeah, you bring back Crawford, you get Kinney and Hartman back again. So if they want to play again, they can play together.
Kate and Ferguson.
They're
It
both
was your
coming
first
back.
line all season on defense.
You lose the Gosnell Gold pair, so you kind of have to find something.
But I think Crawford could.
Yeah.
I liked how Crawford played
Well,
in
and
the
if-
games we saw him.
Well, and if you're thinking about back to the first semester, if Niezlanek is back
That's
on the
true.
team next year, he can hop in, or if he wants
There's
to
a
hop
lot-
back on more of an offender,
You just have to assume
offense
more.
role.
I mean, if you have kids who are looking to play college hockey in ACHA, and they see Colorado, you have a huge school now
Yep.
with who's got a lot of attention, and you got a team that finished top 25 and was right there. Why not at least come try out? You have to imagine kids are gonna come show up and try out after after this year, and especially with like Coach Prime and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously there's no connection to hockey, but if you have a school that has this much attention, it's a fun place to be.
You'll get
Great
people
place
who
to be.
it's like a indirect consequence or effect.
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
crime
there it
effect.
is.
Yeah.
Where it's like maybe people see that they can play hockey here and
Like,
go
oh,
to
cool.
an awesome school. It's
Yeah.
like,
So
all right, well, you just add more. I mean, the freshmen this year are huge.
yeah.
I'm sure they add more.
Now my question is, because of the amount of seniors they're losing next year, do you think there's anyone on the D2 team currently that can make their way up to the D1 team? Because we talked about it last year. We expected one or two to make their way up, but I totally forgot about the fact of freshmen coming in and trying out, and of course, Pearson, Marcinkiewicz, Wood, and Rosalenko, and other players like that stood out. Do you think there's anyone who makes the jump?
I don't think so.
No. No.
I mean, I thought I was with you last year. I thought there was a couple players, but this year it just didn't feel the same.
Mhm.
Watching like last year, because some of those players looked dominant, and this year it's like struggling to score. At least the games that we covered mostly, they struggled to score. So I don't think so. I think you already have those players on the D1 team who haven't dressed that could fill spots.
That's
Possibly
true.
it takes some of those spots to get those chances.
Yep.
But then you just got more people coming in. I mean, I
It'd
think
be interesting to see what happens because, of course, we know McConaughey and Pearson and Wood and Marcinkiewicz and Kate and Ferguson and, Oakwind, they're going to be on this team next season.
Kinney, Hartman.
Yep. But,
Obviously, there's outside factors, and maybe some players don't return. But
Yeah, because, of course, like, that was what was interesting to me. Like, last year we only had 3 seniors. But
there was a lot of
departures.
There's a lot of change and shifts in that
like
team.
you mentioned it earlier before we recorded, Keegan Lewis, who was handling defensive duties, was not on the team this season. Johnny Peterson was not on the team this season.
No, he did not graduate. I thought
Johnny Peterson was not on the team. Tommy Kleinman,
moved to coach.
yeah, he's now a coach. There are plenty of players that were on that team last season that weren't on this team. So I think you're losing plenty of seniors, but what are certain other people just deciding not to come back next year, or who knows? So.
It's all up in the air, but I think with how well this season went and how close they were,
I don't think I see very many departures.
no, I think.
But who
honestly,
knows? Maybe some people who dropped and left the team last year come back this year, like Issa did. But who knows? We'll see. Of course, it's just going to be a interesting off season. But frankly, I think it's just going to be important to focus on what happens for the next 2 weekends. You get a chance to send your seniors off on a good note here at the rec center, and then you talk about UNLV next weekend, and you're still going to try on those games to try and see if you can pull an upset and have great momentum going into next season. But it's the off season, and then you got to start thinking about the future.
And then we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
Maybe get some more guests to finish out the school year once the season's over.
Yeah.
Might as well keep doing this. It's fun.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, and I think we should talk about that women's series against CSU, which I did not see. I watched it from home, but
I watched those. I think they're the team, and they're the only team left that really still has
playoffs. Well, they're in.
Well, they're in the playoffs.
It's this weekend, so
I haven't been able to find out like exactly which teams what seed, but I think that with CSU winning the first game on Saturday, 3-2, that punched their ticket to Salt Lake City. I think they're going to be the 4 seed. They said it 4-7, 1-1. Utah's 4-7, 0-1. So I think Utah will get the 3 and CSU will get the 4. But regardless, those are the other 2 teams that will be going to Salt Lake City. ASU's 1, CU is 2. So
I was watching from home, and I think that game-winning goal from Demarat on Saturday was so nice. I think I texted you. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Demarat just
that was
a filthy goal.
insane.
Yeah, no. See, the thing is, we watched Gabby Demarat for 2 games or 3 games last year because, of course, CSU played in Boulder. instantly stood out.
Yeah.
Fantastic player, and I was really not surprised when she scored. When she had the puck, it was always a dangerous.
I was
scoring
just
chance.
watching that. I texted you. I was like, that was filthy. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
But-
it's crazy.
Nice win the next day though. So.
Yeah, they dropped that first game. They went down 2-0. It was a weird bounce off a shot that got redirected off of a buff defender and past Andy Beerbaum. And the second goal was just a good one-timer on the power play. And then, of course, Demarat scoring. But,
I think it's good to have this weekend because it's real hockey. Again, Wyoming's like real, it's hockey, but like it's not competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to probably have the competitive game, get back to how you play before heading over to Salt Lake City.
I think
where
that is
the
huge.
Season's on the line.
Well, and I think it showed in that first game that, they were still kind of like having a rebound from those 2 games against Wyoming. And then they got it together for game 2, and they scored early off of. What was really interesting is in that first game they got a ton of shots, but they weren't a ton of high danger shots. There were very clear lanes, lots of shots from the point that were easily going to be easily able to stop by Sabrina Rittner, who was a senior for the Rams team. So looks like that'll be something that they'll be looking at next year. But she played fantastic in that first game.
This team, though, not a lot of seniors for the women's team.
No, it's just Atwood and Goldenberg and Henderson.
Big losses on defense there, but
yeah,
3 players is, I don't know.
It's not too bad.
No, but
well, and you think about some of these players that have really stepped up. Like, I really think that they have a solid first line going right now with Fischelli, Ewald, and Bonk. I think that line's fantastic. They're dangerous. I think that I have the most confidence when they're out there. So I think Fischelli's a freshman. I think Ewald might be a freshman too. So that'll be good news. And I'm not exactly sure where Bonk is.
I think she's a junior.
But, I think that regardless, I think that line will come back next year. I think that'll be great as an anchor.
Yeah, I think, but ASU.
That's it.
I mean, obviously, Colorado State's on, like it showed, they're not an easy win.
Neither is Utah.
Utah's a good team, too, especially if they get back to their ways from last year where they
got that number 2 seed.
And they could score. I mean, I forgot the name, but her shot.
Ava Kistner.
Yep, her shot was insane. We were doing streaming that game, and I just looked at you and I was like, wow, like she fired one home, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a shot.
She's a great shot.
So obviously you got to win those. You got to take care of business against those 2, and then it's just safe to assume Arizona State's gonna take care of business. They're just so good.
Well, I mean,
but
Utah only lost.
Anything can happen.
Well, Utah it kind of had a similar story than when we played ASU. We got crushed in one game, but kept the other game close. Of course, 7-0 and 2-0, of course, could score, but ASU against Utah went 7-1 and 3-2, so they only won by 1 in one of those games. So
that was also the first semester when we played them.
That's true. It was all the way back in October, and so was that ASU Utah series.
So I think the team looks better after that game. I think that's when they really started picking things up.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State hasn't seen this Buffaloes team that
started
picking things up a little bit. So
and ASU has seen this Utah team that recently they beat them 3-0 and 3-2.
Excited to see how this weekend goes. Try to follow that.
I don't know exactly who they'll play on Friday and who they'll play on Saturday, but we know it's going to be Utah one day and Colorado State the other.
But
you win both, you get to the championship game, and who knows, maybe you strike down ASU, which
they got to win both. They got to win 2. They got to win the first 2 as well, though.
Yep.
Well, maybe not with how tiebreakers work. That was insane.
Trying
to track the tiebreakers, I was like, my brain doesn't work for this.
That was pretty crazy.
So that's this weekend, and I think next weekend we're going to get some interviews with some of the players from that team.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they're heading to nationals.
Hopefully they are. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
That would be unexpected, to say the least, especially how the season started. That would be a fantastic end of the season. I'll tell you what.
We'll have to see. And anything else? Our studio time's kind of up.
Yeah, so. I haven't gotten too much left. I mean, I'm looking forward. I'll be watching those games, cheering on the Buffs. see what they can do in the WWCHL tournament against Utah, Colorado State, and maybe ASU, most likely ASU. And, yeah, that should be a very entertaining weekend. And, of course, can't forget about the 2 games this weekend, our finale as well, not only the D1 team's finale, but the final hockey broadcast of the season here on Scope Off Sports. I know, it's sad. I'm going to miss it so much.
Same. Best. I mean, I've been here for 5 years. The 2.5 years I was doing that was best part. So
I agree.
Covered football games.
1.5, yeah.
Went to TCU and saw the first win of Coach Prime. I mean, that one game against California that one year when we went 1-11.
Last year,
What
that was fun.
Now, that was a blast. Let me
That was
tell you how awesome that
wild.
was.
That game was crazy.
But I was looking forward to Friday and Saturday nights just to be at the ice rink. So
Yeah.
gonna miss it, but
Yeah, you got to move on. Got to get the future awaits.
hopefully. I don't know about you. No, nothing awaits me yet.
Yeah, the future awaits. So we'll figure something out, I guess. Well, not even. I guess you kind of have to figure something.
I don't get
out.
it. No, there's no choice, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe they'll need help next year, and I'll be down the road or something,
Yeah,
making
who
my
knows?
way up.
We'll see. Most likely handing it off to Nick, with Aidan going to Germany for study
So
abroad.
if you like hockey and want to learn some equipment, Wednesday nights, 6:45,
Yeah.
Case West 262, because we're gonna need some people to help out, especially with me and you leaving
Mm-hmm.
and Aidan. So
Well, and if you're interested in the club teams and the live stream aspect and in commentary, and that aspect of things, club sports here are a great way to get reps and see if it's for you or not. I know I remember coming here and seeing, it kind of stinks we don't have a D1 hockey team, but it kind of was the realization when I got here and kind of doing those first couple games for this D1 team where it started to be like, hey, this is fun. This is good. This is really cool. So even if you like hockey in general and you're interested in commentary or coverage or journalism and writing about hockey, I mean, covering this team next year will be a great start. Because again,
it's literally my entire resume.
well,
That's not
to
true.
me too, pretty much.
Well, my portfolio, my entire portfolio.
But yeah, I think it's like if you're interested in any of that, this is a great place to start. There's no entry level type stuff. It's like you don't need any skill or any prior experience to come in and learn how to do it and get better and potentially start your career. So if you're interested at all in hockey and covering hockey and being a journalist and writing about hockey and maybe even commentary, play-by-play analysis, hey, if you want to step in and replace us, you're more than welcome to. Come join us here at Scope Up Sports. Like Jared said, we meet Wednesdays at 6:45 p.m. Here in the Case Building in room West 262. If you don't know where that is, it's just the giant room on the way you walk in on the right. And yeah, that's all we've got for this episode of Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. I want to thank you all for listening in. And you heard it here first on Scope Off Sports.